Because I also talk about how all the positive things that are happening and the counter revolution that's taken place. I mean, we did this big centralization thing up until World War II, figure out how to kill a lot of people quickly. But the microprocessor has saved us and is going to completely save us, in my opinion, because we've got the internet and we've got podcasts and all these huge sclerotic, corrupt institutions, like the mainstream media and the federal government, these big centralized things, they're all failing horribly. And everyone knows it and can see it. And they're gonna fail. And I mean, Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson outdraw the major networks. And so people realize these big broken systems are screwing them. And we're a free people and somewhat. And we've lost some of it, but we're still basically a free people. And we're gonna vote with our feet and push things in the right direction. So as decentralization continues, it's a very positive thing, and networks are really making the world a much better place. And of course, we had the internet and that network, we had all the information networks, and now we've got a decentralized monetary network, which is just going to completely rewire the world in a very positive way. And what I try to do in the book is to take, I'm a newbie because I literally, there's a chapter just describing what Bitcoin is, which probably everyone listening to this podcast knows. But I want to sell this book to somebody who, knows nothing about it, who's just a regular American wandering around trying to pay their bills and wonders why the hell they feel like they're getting screwed, you know? And so the book is, here's why you're getting screwed and here's what you can do about it.
So, Larry, why don't people see it? Because this is something that has, like I spent a third of my life in this industry. I've built my career in this industry,
Uh,
and to me, it's incredibly obvious, right, that inflation is the problem. Like inflation
right.
is the issue. Why can't what's funny to me is when you hear the politicians, they go on TV and they talk about inflation as if it's like a law of nature. It is gravity,
Yes,
and then they,
no, it's greedy corporations, right?
yeah, that's another one. That's another one. They essentially blame everything and anyone but themselves,
Correct.
even though it's government spending, which is the sole cause of inflation, right?
Yeah.
So has the world been psyoped because they controlled the media for so long? Now that they've lost control of the media with the rise of X and Elon acquiring it, and
Yeah.
you really see the truth seeping through, and
I think
you
that's
see them
right.
seize.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think there's a multifaceted answer to that question, in my opinion. I mean, one, they've been gaslit a lot. Two, a lot of people aren't critical thinkers. Three, the level of pain wasn't as large. Let's go back to pre 2008. I mean, the 80s and 90s, I mean, all these things were bubbling and happening, but in general, the world was a pretty good place. The economy was doing pretty well. I kind of mark the beginning of the end as kind of 9/11. Well, the dot com bubble and then the bursting of that in 9/11, which sent us on a spree to spend $8 trillion in the Middle East on stupid stuff. And so um, that I think is where the lies really intensified. I mean, there were lies in the Nixon administration, obviously, but it got progressively worse. And it just with every step, people have been hurting. I mean, Obamacare was supposed to make our healthcare system better. It's made it worse and more expensive. I mean, there's just absolutely nothing the government touches works because the people who are in there are corrupt and they're doing things in their own best interests or in the interests of the big corporations that they're in hock to. And so, the rest of us suffer as a result of that. And so, and like I say, if you weren't hurting too badly and you're, raising your family and, focusing on putting money on the or putting food on the table and watching the football game, people weren't paying attention. But I think one of the things that's happened, it's pushed in our favor, Nico, is that the problems have gotten worse. And people, when people start to hurt, they start to say, well, okay, damn it, what am I going to do about this? I mean, let's solve this. And so again, that's the point of the book. I'm trying to educate and trying to, I mean, yes, you understand it because you've been in this industry, but imagine you have a job that's not at all related to this industry. I mean, imagine, I don't know what job you might have, but if you're a secretary or wherever you work but you're not deep into this business, you wouldn't really understand it. You would you'd turn on the TV and you'd listen to what people tell you and they'd lie to you, but you wouldn't know they were lying to you. So, So that's been the problem. But the trend is good, right? I mean, more and more people are waking up. I mean, that chart that's in the book that you referred to, which shows how the trust in government. I mean, in the '60s, post World War II, I mean, the trust in the government was like 70 or 80% of the people trusted the government most or all the time. Right now, it's less than 20%. So that obviously shows you that they're not doing the government's failing, and that's because it was built for a different time. It was built for a growing nation, and when economies of scale mattered, and so it made sense to have big government. But we don't need that anymore, and so it's going to go away. And that's the very positive part about the book. The things I see coming are really fantastic. Um, but the other thing is, it's a little bit of just of a how-to instruction manual, because the average person buying a book in an airport, I mean, I put on the back of the book, which I think maybe by the time this show comes out, you'll have the book cover and the book back that you can put in the show notes. But the back of the book basically says bluntly, there are going to be winners and losers, and, and everyone's responsible for their own situation. So, hey, read the book, and you've got a better chance of being a winner, and that's something you should want to do. And so hopefully people will read the book. I mean, I want to sell a lot of them, not to make money, but because I want to see the world get changed sooner rather than later, because I want my kids to have a better world, my grandkids someday to have a better world than what we're in right now.
Absolutely. And I think, and what I've coined it is like it's information narrative trench warfare. And it's really
Yeah,
about winning
yeah,
over
that's right. That's a good way to put it. Yeah,
the hearts and minds of individuals and really getting them to wake up about it's not left versus right, the divide and conquer method to distract you from what's actually going on.
yeah,
But one of the chapters names really, really, when I saw it, really impacted me, which is, let's talk about the solution to this. So inflation is the problem. Inflation is causing all these consequences, some of them unintended consequences, and
sure.
it's severely affecting society. But one of the things that you mentioned is that the solution to that is sound money. But the thing that really stuck out to me is that you make the case that sound money is a moral issue. Could you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. I mean, look, I mean, if I said I was going to give you 10 gallons of beer and I gave you 9 gallons of beer, and you gave me some money for that, I mean, you would say, hey, you cheated me. You promised me 10 and gave me 9. And so, money is a representation of time, work, value, energy, whatever you want to call it, but it's what we all use to make our economy work. And when it's continually being diluted by a system that requires it to be diluted, that's built in to be, credit-based system, then that's effectively the government stealing money from everybody who works, and it's stealing your time and stealing your labor, and it leads to all kinds of perverse incentives. And so, this is I mean, and this is not new. The book, I don't go in deeply into this because the book's about a lot of things, but I talk about how, this goes back, it's in the Bible, right? I mean, the Lord says you will use honest weights and measures. I mean, so, obviously way back when they were doing exchange and they were weighing things and, saying, okay, I'll give you X amount of this for Y amount of that. And some people were saying, oh yeah, look at this. They were using dishonest weights, and saying, I gave you the full weight, but they really didn't. And so, this cheating concept has been around for a long time. It's as old as the hills. And it's just something the government does, and we shouldn't permit it. But sadly, we haven't had a collective group of people, and there've just been a few lonely voices who understand this issue. I mean, Ron Paul has always been one of them. More recently, Judy Shelton has been another one, and there are many others. But my point is that we are very much in the I've made a lot of noise over the years, but we are very much in the minority of economic thought, because the Keynesian model, which empowers governments, is has really been dominant, and it also empowers economists and makes them very rich. Empowers. I mean, there's a lot of data in there. Most people listening will know this, but I mean, it's bothersome to me that Janet Yellen got paid $7 million in speaking fees from the financial industry, right? I mean, including 800,000 plus from Citadel. Well, I got to tell you, there's no free market that would suggest to me that Janet Yellen's wisdom for a 1 or a 2 hour speech is worth a couple $100,000. I mean, that's to me just a covert bribe where, a big bank is paying her to come speak, knowing that she's in a position of power to regulate them or will be in the future or is influencing policy. And they want her to influence policy in a way that will benefit them at the expense of everybody else. That's exactly the way the system works. And so there's a lot of immorality and corruption that comes out of having this broken money. And the people who control the money, I mean, it's patently absurd that we have 12 people that can set the price of money. I mean, the price of money is the most important price in any economy because it drives capital allocation decisions, which then drive the correct productivity, and outputs as a result of, you want to invest in the right things. And so if you distort the price of money, you make malinvestments and you're wasting money on things that don't make any sense. And that's a cost to society. If we had not had all of the distortions that we've had, we would all be living so much better. If you look at all the technological innovation that's taken place in my lifetime and in your lifetime, I mean, we all should be working 20 hours a week. I mean, it's unbelievable how much technology has improved everywhere. And yet, because the money's broken, we're all still working like slaves because we're on this hamster mill, or hamster track of trying to stay ahead of inflation, which is always eating us up. It's a real problem, and everyone feels it, from the top to the bottom. That the one difference, though, that I'll point out, and you and I discussed before the show, is the people at the top, know the game. They understand what's coming. They understand how to play it, and they can make inflation work for them. I mean, they actually can get, inflation. The working person, the average citizen, has trouble with inflation. Their salary is fixed. When things cost more, their lifestyle gets worse. People at the top, they can actually root for inflation because they can borrow cheap, and the inflation pushes up the value of their assets. And that's why the wealth inequality is as it is. I mean, that's the whole Cantillon effect. So it's a bad scene. And so I hate to sit here and complain about it, though, because again, I mean, I think this is going to come out on Christmas. I want to be positive. I mean, the good scene is that, man, they're losing and we're winning, and everyone's figuring this out. And that's the point of this book. I mean, I want an orange pill. We got 330 million Americans out there. How many people are in the Federal Reserve? Like 50 that make the decisions? Well, we outnumber these folks. And if we make enough noise, we can fix this stuff. And even if we don't make enough noise, intrinsically, even in the marketplace, it's arguable that Bitcoin alone is going to fix this stuff because, if Bitcoin continues to go up in value, it's just going to suck all the value out of the fiat. The fiat people aren't going to have power anymore, and the Bitcoiners are going to have a lot of power. And I got to tell you, I would much rather have Bitcoiners running this country than have all the fiat lords running this country.
Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally have not only an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially, what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you. Check out Ledn.io today.